Just a month ago, we were at 258, and you can see we are already at 260 plus. That's the pace of innovation. That is the pace with which the future is approaching. And that's the sound of the future. Silent? I don't think so. To kick things up a notch, I'm introducing on stage the CEO of Ultraviolette, Narayan. Been waiting 8 years for this day, and it gives me a lot of pleasure and honor to be here today. Today is not about unveiling some new machines. Today is in fact all about proving a point. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about this very point in time, 8 years back, when Neeraj and me were back in India, sitting together figuring out how could we disrupt an industry that has been stagnant for a while. We witnessed how fast the consumer tech industry has grown in the last 2 decades. Could we bring some of that into the automotive world? But the problem was, we were building this for the long term, which meant we needed to have a top-down approach. When you're building tech for a top-down approach, essentially you're trying to build future-proof, future-ready technology that is here to stay, that is going to help our vehicle platforms evolve over time. But the flip side is, these are the guys you're going up against. Right? These are the companies that have made and built some remarkable machines across the world and have frankly had decades of legacy, history and momentum rolling up to this point. But coming back to us, that's us. A very humble start. This is back in 2016-17. A team of about 8 of us operating out of what was like a garage back then. And every table that you see on the left was essentially one of the departments of the company. Right? But what we had, what the world often sees as impossible, we saw an opportunity. We saw the early team and of course the extended team today coming with a lot of passion to keep aside baggage and history and try to prove that India does have the talent across automotive, across hardware, across software to pull off the impossible. And essentially that meant we are the underdogs in this whole story. And being an underdog, like I mentioned, didn't have legacy, didn't have support, didn't have any of it. And this is when we had to take some really bold bets. And being an underdog, I mean, Neeraj and I have always followed a zero-1 approach. We always stood for fundamental innovation over incremental improvements. That translated to what being an underdog meant. It essentially means you don't just play to win, you play to change the game. And that was the problem statement for Ultraviolette. And where does this all begin? We take a lot of inspiration from the world of aviation and aerospace. We're not just building motorcycles. Ultraviolette was never about building great motorcycles or two-wheelers. The intent of starting the company, the intent of what we're trying to prove today is that we are trying to defy gravity, literally and metaphorically. And if you think about it, gravity has been, or the attempt of humanity taking to the skies, has been one of the most inspiring stories in all of history. What was deemed impossible for centuries or even millenniums was sometime recently proven to be possible, and now we are actively across intergalactic travel possibilities, right? That is the quantum of evolution that we've seen in the space, and that, the two of us and the extended team, is one of the largest or the biggest sources of inspiration, and that translates to the rest of the team, the company today as well. So we are a small but very focused, very passionate group of people across 3 different domains in Ultraviolette: aerospace, automotive, and consumer technology. So it's a crucible of very different, very interesting talent streams coming together, which is what has enabled us building a machine like the F77. Which leads me to the Ultraviolette philosophy. I think what some of you may resonate with, I'd like to put it or articulate it strongly. We stand for 3 things that we will never compromise on. As a brand, that's the reason we started. And those 3 things are design, technology, and performance. So when we get asked questions about what segments do you want to get into, why is the vehicle priced at a certain point, all of this leads back to this fundamental philosophy of pioneering design, technology, and performance across whatever we do. And when I'm talking about performance, I'm not talking about speed or acceleration. I'm talking about all facets of performance. This extends all the way beyond the speed of the vehicle to the reliability, the robustness, the kind of range we provide to be the best in class in all performance aspects of an automobile. Now, my next question to all of you: what is a machine without the riders? And at this point, I'd like to give a huge shout out to our Ultraviolette owners who joined us today.
What happens is that when technologies get developed, there is a period at which they coalesce and make it possible to take a leap into the future. There are multiple pieces of technology, IoT, digital twins, simulation, robotics, and so on. They have matured to an extent that you can put them together and have a connected factory. This is what Industry 4.0 is about. It is about connected intelligence. One critical area where we are found lucky is the people and their skill set. It is skill set of people at all levels of the organization who must align themselves to the vision of Industry 4.0. So that's exactly the vision with which this program was done. I'm glad to introduce the Digital Manufacturing and Smart Factories course, which is organized by IISc with support from Talent Sprint.
So all of you have believed in us when we were a very nascent company, launched the first vehicles, I think early 23, and have stood by us, given us a lot of interesting ideas, suggestions. We've listened, we've tried to innovate wherever possible, and you guys are not just part of a brand, I would say you're part of the revolution that's all set to take off. So huge shout out to all of you, and yeah. The impact of what we've already created is what you see here. 6 million kilometers of ballistic riding. Yeah, we know the data, it's all ballistic riding. 127,000 hours cumulatively clocked on the vehicles. And I'm sure you're seeing the impact of this on the recently rolled out detailed app analytics as well. And the sheer amount of carbon emission saved and fuel savings is now going to have that hockey stick growth rather soon. So the UV squadron is very integral, and I think as a brand, we will continue to build on this relationship. You are the core of what you are, the soul of the Ultraviolette ethos, and there's going to be a lot that you're going to see from Ultraviolette as well. And what does the squadron prove? It proves that electric motorcycles are not the future, it's literally the present. Alright, now, from the squadron and their escapades, we're talking about going far. As a motorcyclist, I think the concern that people have is range anxiety, and we were cognizant of that on day one. And we knew range anxiety had to be solved not just in one, but maybe 2, 3, 4 different ways. So we launched the first product, the F77 with I think Asia's highest range of 307 kilometers, which in the next 10 months became 323 kilometers. So enough and more charge on a vehicle for your urban and urban plus riding. Both our chargers are portable, compatible with a 3-pin socket, so anywhere on the go, the worst case is still you can plug into any socket across the country. And we are 2025 is going to be pivotal for scaling up of the UV Supernova network. So as we are today present in multiple cities across the country, we are going to populate all of the intercity riding routes with the UV Supernova charging network. Now, I spoke about being present in multiple cities across the country. This actually is going to lead me to one of the very interesting innovations that came from Ultraviolette, the UV link. So this is something that came in from the UV squadron as well. People were asking us, could we leverage the emerging car charging infrastructure? And that's when we sort of took this seriously and figured out a solution that today makes the F77s compatible with 4,000 plus AC Type 2 car chargers or car charging stations across the country. And true to our motto of accelerating innovation, I think there's one thing that I'd like to state here. We love it when people buy an F77, but we just as much almost love it when people buy any electric vehicle. Now, in that line of thought, we opened up the UV link to the entire community of electric two-wheeler owners across the country. So this means whatever brand of electric two-wheeler that you're riding, could be a scooter or a motorcycle, the UV link now helps you tap into the car charging network. Going even further, today we are at 13 locations across the country, and this rapid expansion has happened in the last 4 months. September, October 2024, we were only in Bangalore, and between October to now, March, we have scaled to 13 different cities, and this network is enabling access to the brand and enabling a lot of trust in the brand as we fast forward our expansion. So, the two store formats, the UV Space Station and the Space Pods, again named in line with what it conveys. Space Stations, larger format stores, and the Space Pods are smaller touch points and test ride zones. This is going to be scaling rapidly. Now, what also happened is going furthest, which is going global. So today, Ultraviolette is no more just an Indian brand. We are very much a global brand. And we, October 2024 is when we received our homologation and certification for the F77s to be compliant across Europe and 40 countries across the world. Oh. And we reverse something. This is something that all of us as motorcycle enthusiasts resonate with. Other parts of the world get very cool, amazing machines, but does India get the same range of options? I don't think so. And today, what we built for India is the exact vehicle, exact specs on the hardware side that is going to be on the roads in Europe real soon. So we've already got the vehicles across Germany, across Italy, across France, and making a lot of waves across the world. And I'm really glad that some of our partners in this endeavor have joined us today. And glad you could make it to Bangalore at short notice, and looking forward to taking this journey across the world. Now this leads me to the core of why we are today, which is going from a great product that we built, which is the F77, to now how the 7 years of R&D, vertical integration of tech has enabled us and put us in a place to scale this into multiple product platforms. And what do I mean by platforms? Yes, we're branching beyond sports motorcycles. And to take you further into detail on the platforms on the deck, inviting my co-founder Neeraj to take this further. Thank you, Narayan. So what we're talking about here are scalable platforms, right? Now, when we started the company, we were very clear that we want to have fundamental innovation, which meant that we had to get the basics right. When we talk about basics, we're talking about all of the electric vehicle components, we're talking about the motor controllers, the motors, the powertrain, the battery technology, the BMS, the vehicle control unit. And it meant that we had to put in all of the effort, all of the hard work in building this out so that we could scale it up later. Of course, not many people believed us at that stage. They thought, it's a one-trick pony. But essentially what we have been doing is building the pillars of, innovation, which is what is going to take us forward from this point onwards. Right? Now, at the heart of our entire scalable platform is the battery tech. And essentially, it is the most advanced piece of engineering. As much work has gone into the batteries as the rest of the vehicle itself. Right? And to give you a glimpse of the evolution of batteries, I'll give a short clip where Vinayak talks about the entire evolution of Ultraviolette's battery technology.
A lot of you know about the motorcycle platform, but at the core of it is the battery technology. Let me walk you through all the battery platforms that we've developed in the last 7 years. Back in 2016, when the EV industry was still very nascent, both modular and fixed battery pack architectures were open for discussion. We started off with modular architecture, where our Gen 1 and Gen 2 battery packs weighing about 14 to 15 kilos for a 1.5 kilowatt hour. And over the Gen 3, 4, and 5, we brought that number down to just 9 kilos. And not just that, we packaged industry-first NFC communication, eSIM connectivity, and a host of other safety features in a very compact form that I'm holding here. In 2020, we realized the potential of achieving significantly higher range with the fixed battery pack architecture. And over the next 18 months, we developed the first generation of the fixed battery pack using 8650 cells. In the next generation, we optimized for increasing energy density even higher, from 8 kilowatt hour to 10 kilowatt hour in the same volume using 21700 cells. And this has resulted in the largest battery pack in Asia on an electric two-wheeler, and till date it has the highest range on an electric two-wheeler in Asia. Along with the largest capacity, we also made the safest battery pack, and this was achieved with our patented 5-level safety systems, which works within our power modules: mechanical, thermal, electrical, electronics, and software. And now coming to the Godzilla of the batteries, the 400-volt F99 battery systems, built for ultimate uncompromising performance. And this is the first of its kind across all forms of two-wheelers. Now, all of these battery platforms that we've built at Ultraviolette enables us to address multiple use cases and segments across the world.
Talk about the 400-volt battery architecture. This is what is powering the F99s out here. And essentially, at the end of the day, what we have is an entire suite of battery technology options, battery packs, which have the highest energy density, the highest volumetric density, and the highest power density to be able to power any type of vehicle across the ecosystem. And that has taken us to this point. In fact, we went beyond. We had to solve some other important challenges. A lot of people think that, electric vehicles are super silent. How would it make sense in the context of motorcycles? Do you have, how does an electric motorcycle sound like? Right? And this is one of the things that we had to solve from scratch. And we didn't want any gimmicks about this, right? We went about it in a very honest approach. In fact,
if you just think about it for a moment, I'll play a small clip for you. Think about whether I'm playing the clip of a rocket engine from an F-16 or whether I'm playing a clip from the ultraviolet motorcycle. That, ladies and gentlemen, is not a jet engine. It's actually the ultraviolet F-77. This technology was engineered, the acoustics was engineered. It's not something that came naturally. For us, it meant optimizing every part of the powertrain to make sure that we could get the acoustics right. And what you hear on the F-77, on the F-99, and every single platform from ultraviolet will be engineered to make sure that you get the ultimate acoustic and auditory experience. This brings us to the next stage of innovation, right? When we talk about scalable platforms, on one side, we have the ride, which is the vehicles. We also have the riders, right? Which is, when we talk about the rider, we're also talking about experience that extends beyond the vehicle. We're talking about the ownership experience, what happens, once you're off the vehicle, what happens from a service point of view. And this is where we've spent a lot of time innovating and improving with all of the feedback that's coming in from the squadron, from all of the data. And essentially, what we have and what we're going to be talking about now is what we call the UV Future Labs. It's also what you get to see around you today after this presentation. All of the different projects that have been going on from an R&D point of view. And this is meant to, work with the rider from a user experience point of view, from an ownership point of view. And I'm going to play a short clip about what's happening at UV Future Labs.
Equipped with radar and cameras, our vehicles give you 360-degree awareness of the surrounding. The integrated LEDs on the mirror and haptic handlebars alert you about potential hazards. The vehicle scans the road ahead and suggests the optimal configuration of your machine, whether it's suggesting traction control based on the weather or ABS settings as per the terrain. Here we have Striker 1, a gesture control glove that lets you interact with the features of the motorcycle. A simple intuitive gesture, that is, the hold, lets you access the menu items on ultraviolet vehicles. And let's say you want to change the display mode, simply swipe, and the day mode changes to night mode and vice versa. If you have to take a left turn, simply point towards the left, and left indicator simply goes on. Here I'm connected to one of our test vehicles. This is the Ultraviolette app. This is the data for the month of January. The first thing you see is the total distance covered. You can also see the total distance covered every day this month. For all you speed enthusiasts, just tap here and you can see the top speed that you've achieved every day. And of course, your preferred ride mode, in this case, it's ballistic mode 90% of the times. Your F-77 can tell you the number of front and rear brake activations. You also have the number of times the hill hold has been engaged, the traction control split, and finally the lifetime stats.
Now a glimpse of our Starfield system project. The system allows the rider to set 5 levels of cooling or heating according to the outdoor temperature levels. The thermo and exhaust systems together help to reduce the body heat up to 3 to 5 degrees. Every product under UVS space is integrated with NSC interaction technology, which takes the product into the new digital realm. Rider vision. Every piece of vital information is overlaid directly in your field of view. Connected directly to the motorcycle system, the AR smart helmet delivers tactical awareness like never before, monitoring performance, analyzing surroundings, and anticipating threats so that you are combat ready.
Alright, so there's a reason that we call our R&D areas everyone. Right? There's so much cool, insane stuff happening, and there's demo zones for all of what we, or most of what we spoke about. And I'd encourage all of you to go check out what's happening. Like Neeraj mentioned, the core of a vehicle is the rider, the human, and there's a lot of interesting projects going on from a human-centric, human-machine integration approach towards building an ecosystem that's not just going to take you from A to B, but that's going to take you from A to B in a way that no other entity on the planet can. That is what we are striving to achieve. And now, all of that tech, what is that leading to in terms of the vehicle platforms? But before we get into this in more detail, I'd like to talk about what I mentioned earlier, the pace of innovation that we've seen in the consumer tech world. We've gone from landlines to satellite communications in 20 years. We've gone from computers the size of large rooms to palm-held devices. How much of that is translated into the automotive world? We're seeing a lot of that happening in the four-wheeler space, and very encouraging to see that. And from what we've done is to try and fast-track a lot of that in the two-wheeler space. But put that in context, what have we witnessed in the industry in the last 20 years? There's a lot of sameness that we see. There's a lot of incremental improvements for sure, but where are those attempts, those projects, those dreams are? There are moonshot sort of attempts at creating a fundamental disruption. Going back to, so I was looking at the oldest photos I could find of some of these products in the country. Going back to 2001, what you see on the screen was a very cool scooter that launched back then. And we see a lot of evolution of that. 2001, 2002, 2003. As you move along, okay, more colors, but kind of incremental. Move further along, yeah, there's a lot more of it, but again, incremental. And now, if I was to contextualize 2001 and 2025, this is what we're looking at. You tell me what has improved significantly. I mean, the quality of the photographs have improved, but beyond that, has the vehicle fundamentally changed? And I think the answer, we all know the answer, not really. And why am I showing scooters? Because we are about to get into the scooter segment through Ultraviolette.
இந்த லெட் பென்சிலை நான் ஒரு பல்பா மாற்ற போறேன். ஸோ அதுக்காக நான் ஒரு லெட் எடுத்துக்கிறேன்.
And how do we start this approach? It was about fundamentally reimagining the product, reimagining today's customer and tomorrow's riders. I think what we're seeing in the market is evolution of what has happened in the last 20 years and has stagnated, but what do the people of tomorrow want, right? And can we bring in all of that tech and innovation that you saw Neeraj talk about and the video clips that you saw earlier? Can we package all of that? And the problem statement that we rolled out across the company was to develop the world's most advanced scooter. And I'm not using the word electric or IC, I'm saying the world's most advanced scooter, period. And how do we do that? Let's take it from here. Tesseract. The attempt was to put a damn spacecraft on two wheels, and that's what you're seeing here. And there's a ton of tech that we're going to get into in some detail soon. Neeraj, you want to join me here?
Can we give it up for the UV Tesseract? Ladies and gentlemen, get your pictures in. I would like to invite all the photographers up there. There'll be plenty of photo ops through the day, but I'm sure you want the UV Tesseract to travel to your audiences in double quick time, which it will, literally and metaphorically.
So that is the Ultraviolette Tesseract, and as the name suggests, power, performance, design, technology, all of it packaged together in what you see here. So I'm going to get into some more details on the vehicle. We've got a short clip here that's going to give you a gist of what the vehicle is about.
Introducing the Ultraviolette Tesseract. We will talk about its world-leading safety, unparalleled ride awareness, with a 7-inch touchscreen DFT display, with generous underseat storage for all-round comfort. We could keep talking, but we thought we'd show you instead. Category-dominating power, segment-leading thrill, all in one stunning package. The all-new Ultraviolette Tesseract.
Yeah, so you've got a glimpse of what the vehicle is all about. And to tell you about the different personalities on the vehicle, guess who got first access to the Tesseract last evening? Run, Vijay. So he was at the studio while we were prepping for the event today and got a first glance at the UV Tesseract, got to experience about what the vehicle is about. So this we call the Desert Sand spec. And then, yes, of course, Mr. Wayne, it comes in black. We got the Tesseract in stealth black. And what is the polar opposite of Batman? Would that be Harley Quinn? Introducing the Sonic Pink. So we've gone all out, we've gone wild with what the vehicle can stand for. And as you see here, you see a lot of possibilities to customize, accessorize, and personalize the vehicle to who you are and what you want it to be. And I think the core of this project for us, beyond all of the layers of tech and design, is giving everybody an option to personalize their vehicles as an extension of their personalities, of their lifestyles, and who we are as people. So that is the Sonic Pink. And if the inspiration for F-77s and our sports motorcycles have been fighter jets, the inspiration for the UV Tesseract has been combat helicopters. So you'll see a lot more details connecting to this as we move forward.
So when Narayan spoke about combat helicopters, he wasn't kidding, because everything that we've done on this vehicle in terms of the advanced capabilities actually were derived from ideas that combat helicopters use, right? So these are vehicles. When you talk about the F series of vehicles, you're talking about speed, performance. In the case of combat helicopters, we're talking about more closer to terrestrial activities, stop and go situations, having spatial awareness, and that is exactly what we have built into the Tesseract. Now to get into some more details, right? What comes with this vehicle? We're talking about front and rear radars. This is India's first vehicle with a radar. In fact, I think it would be the world's first, for that matter, a two-wheeler with front and rear radar technology. It brings together spatial awareness. It brings together systems that enable blind spot detection, collision avoidance warnings, overtake alerts, and all of this is coming through with the advanced mirrors that come on the vehicle. And these are called OmniSense mirrors, which allow you to experience and understand what is going on from a spatial point of view around you. And all of this is in your peripheral field of vision. It's enabling a whole new set of safety features that have never been seen on any two-wheeler till date. Right? Now, it's not just that. We have more. Right? We have the first vehicle with an integrated dash cam. It's integrated with Violet AI. We also have a handlebar with haptic feedback. This is the first on any vehicle again. In fact, I would recommend to take a look around at some of the other stalls behind you. You can actually experience this in even the F-77 that's out there. Right? So this is what we're talking about, a handlebar with haptic feedback that is giving you collision warnings, overtake alerts, and even blind spot detection. And all of this through the haptic feedback on the handlebar in a non-intrusive way. This vehicle also comes with a 7-inch touchscreen. We're talking about a customizable UI. We're talking about fully connected systems. We're talking about onboard navigation on the vehicle. The vehicle and app connectivity that the vehicle has is very similar to the F-77 in terms of the data that's available through Violet AI. We're talking about crazy underseat storage, 34 liters, right? And this obviously allows you to fit a full-face helmet. We're talking about 14-inch wheels for any kind of terrain. Again, very few scooters out there that allow you to do this kind of thing. We're talking about floating DRLs, dual LED projector lamps, and we have connectivity through Violet AI. Now, the ride analytics that you saw earlier, and which is available on the F-77 today, is also available on the Tesseract, a fully connected system which gives you all of the data via the app in terms of all of your usage, in terms of suggestions. We have Delta Watch, which is the movement alerts. We have towing alerts, again coming in with Delta Watch. All of this available on the Tesseract scooter. And I'm not done. Right? I've just spoken about some of the features on the vehicle. Now let's talk about performance. You saw a brief glimpse of this, but essentially today, this is the first scooter, electric scooter, with a range of 261 kilometers from an IDC point of view. We have a power of 20 bhp, 15 kilowatts of peak power. We have a top speed in excess of 120 kilometers per hour. We have an acceleration, 0 to 60 of 2.9 seconds. And when we talk about acceleration, we don't talk about 0 to 40 acceleration, we talk about 0 to 60, because that's what matters. Now, all of this performance, right, and all of these features, we know where we are. We're in India. A lot of questions come to us in terms of what is the economy. India's favorite question is, "Kitna deti hai?" Right? So today, I wanted to take a moment to talk about this in a very different perspective. Right? I wanted to talk about efficiency, and how you spend your money in a very different point of view. And if you look at today where the IC engines have reached, Narayan spoke about it. Over the last 25 years, we've seen advancements in terms of, IC engines. But what has it, gotten to? Right? What is the state of the art when it comes to IC engines? When it comes to fuel efficiency? When it comes to economy? Today, generally speaking, across the board, what is the fuel efficiency in IC engine vehicles? Right? These are, numbers that you see typically. For the 100cc vehicle, you 5 kilometers per liter. With 110cc, you'll get probably 60 kilometers per liter. And if you've got a 200 or 400cc motorcycle, you're in the range of 25 to 35 kilometers per liter. Right? This is generally accepted, known to everybody. Now, what if I told you that today, with this vehicle, the fuel efficiency reaches 500 kilometers per liter? It sounds insane, but just hear me out for a moment. Why do I say this? Of course, it's an electric vehicle. We all know that. But what does it mean when I say 500 kilometers per liter? I'm talking about what does your money get you, right? Just to give you a scenario, let's say you have 100 rupees. In 100 rupees, you get 1 liter of petrol, right? On a 110cc vehicle or scooter or a motorcycle, you get 60 kilometers with that 100 rupees. Or you get 40 kilometers if it's a 125cc vehicle. But that same 100 rupees gets you 12 units of charge, 12 units of electricity, 12 kilowatt hour of electricity and energy. And with those 12 units, you can charge this vehicle 2 times over, which means a range of 100 kilometers with 100 rupees. And that's what we mean by 500 kilometers per liter. Of course, we could argue on the semantics. We could say that, oh, you called it 500 kilometers per liter. But essentially, the point that I'm trying to make here is that that $100 either gets you 60 kilometers on an IC engine vehicle or it gets you 500 on the Tesseract. In fact, all of our vehicles have reached this stage of advancement in terms of technology. The F-77s that you see there, today, with the F-77s, you get 250 to 300 kilometers in that same 100 rupees. Right? That's the equivalent of 1 full charge on the motorcycle. So the entire technology stack that we've built out is actually significantly ahead of where the IC engines are when it comes to fuel efficiency. And that's the point that we try to make. A lot of people say, oh, it's 30 paisa per unit and all of that, or 30 paisa per kilometer. But just try to imagine it in the point of view of how much you're spending on fuel today. This takes me to the next point. We're still not done, right? About the scooter. The other aspect of this is safety. Now, for the longest time, what we've seen in the industry is safety is generally treated as an afterthought. It's treated as what is the bare minimum that can be provided to the customer at this price point. Right? For us, that was not acceptable. Right? We had to really imagine safety ground up. And today, this is the first vehicle with dual channel ABS, with traction control, right, and with dynamic stability control, which is already available on the F-77s from Ultraviolette. Now let's come to bring it all together in terms of the vehicle specs. This vehicle comes with a whole ton of features with radar, OmniSense mirrors. We've got 260 kilometers of range from an IDC point of view. We've got 15 kilowatts of peak power. We've got storage. We've got a connected cluster. That's not all. We've got more. Right? From a warranty point of view, we're industry leading. And it's a fair question to ask. We asked ourselves this question many times. In fact, if you talk to any of the industry experts, you'll get a sense of, for this kind of spec with all of the other existing options in the market, what would be a fair price point? And if you go around asking, you'll arrive at a number which is, 2.5 lakhs, in terms of 14-inch wheels, in terms of all of the spec. But for us, this was not okay. We had engineered this to be the world's most advanced scooter, but we also built it to a particular cost. We were very, very clear that it had to meet a cost target. And we engineered it to meet a particular cost target. And that cost target, ladies and gentlemen, is... It's the price. And that's not all. The first 10,000 vehicles will be available at a price of 1,20,000 rupees. This has not been an easy task. Let me be very honest. It takes a significant bit of engineering. And that's the reason we started this conversation today about scalable platforms. When the hard work is put in terms of building all of the technology ground up, which means from the vehicle control units to the entire battery architecture, the entire vertical integration on the entire automotive subsystems, that is what today enables Ultraviolette to be able to provide vehicles at this price point. And that's what we're very proud of today. In fact, all of this will be available with delivery starting in Q1 of next year. And that's not all. We're not done for today. In fact, there's a lot more in store. We're always full of surprises. There's one big one coming. So the question is, what next? Right? And to take it from here, I'll let Narayan do the talking.
Thank you, Neeraj. And before I get into what is on the screen behind me, I'd like all of us to put our hands together for the Ultraviolette R&D team and the extended team from UV. For pulling off consistently, not once, not twice, multiple times over and over again in our endeavor to stay ahead of the industry with one single-minded goal of ensuring that India can be at the forefront of electric mobility revolution and not play the role of a follower anymore. And I think that is what drives all of us towards what we're doing. And we're seeing a lot of that today with the F-77s, the Mark II, the Super Street, the Tesseract, and of course the F-99s. And if you think about it, all of the hard work that went in the last 7 years is what is today enabling us as a brand, as a company, as a collective group of geeks that are obsessed with design, tech, performance, to be able to ensure that we don't dilute any of this and bring more and more products at various points of accessibility. Accessibility not just in terms of what the product would cost, but in terms of various form factors. Now, what next? I'd like to hear from you. What next? I mean, we've got something crazy. Yeah, Concept X had a guest appearance at EICMA. Okay, so this actually goes back to a lot of nostalgia. What we're about to showcase is not necessarily a business plan made on Excel, derived a product formula out of it, and put specs on the road. This actually goes back to us asking the fundamental question of what is fun? Can we bring back the fun? And today, does fun really have to cost you a lot? What is the least common denominator that is super exciting, super fun? And with that, I'm going to introduce Ultraviolette's light motorcycle platform. And where did all of this originate? I think among the two favorite words of all of us in this hall, two strokes. Right? So we all know how much fun we had with the two-stroke motorcycles and how accessible those motorcycles were. But of course, the emission norms and moving to four-stroke and evolution in that category has sort of buried them for quite a while. Now, two strokes, of course, are a thing of the past. What is fun in the future? With this, I'd actually like to run through a quick comic strip to articulate what I'm talking about. Imagine a situation today. Friends in college doing a lot of cool things into skateboarding, into music, into various expressive forms and activities in life. And when it comes to the entry-level options in terms of vehicles, are there really that many compelling and fun choices anymore? And enters our hero, the RX-100. So the RX-100, the RX-135s have been among the most iconic of machines, and all of us have grown up riding it, loving that experience. And in fact, that was what we wanted to drive as the core of what we're about to showcase. And in effect, bring that into the real world in the form of the light motorcycle platform. So we're launching two motorcycles today. We're launching a fun street motorcycle and an enduro. You know what Steve Jobs did? A fun street motorcycle and an enduro. A fun street motorcycle and an enduro. And that coming together in one super provocative, compelling package that you can't ignore. We call this the Funduro platform. And this, in fact, has been in the works for quite a while. When you ask our testing teams, our engineers, our designers, what do you do in your free time? They've been building a lot of side projects, and a lot of that has built so much momentum internally. And what you're about to see is some testing footage from one of those, and what that means.
If you are running a business where you are the one who's managing operations, sales, marketing.
Too much fun for the...
Can we try playing that again?
Team, it's playing here. Okay, I think we sort of get to what we're about to showcase. That's a lot of very, very cool jumps and slides and whatnot. And we call this, one more go. is the UV Shockwave, and it goes by the tagline of "Too Stoked." Allow us to get into some details on this motorcycle. So that's the UV Shockwave, and I want to ask you, what are the most important factors for a motorcycle like this? So just throw out what are the most important parameters? Weight, torque, suspension, of course, one of the most important factors. I'm going to begin with torque to weight ratio. This lands with 500 Newton meters of torque at the wheel. To give you context, the F77 is outputting 500 Newton meters at the wheel. Now, with that in mind, think about what you can do at 120 kgs. Yeah, so this is poised to be quite a bad boy, quite a hooligan, superb fun, and yeah, you'll have to ride it to experience it, which is going to happen soon. And a top speed of 120 kilometers. And given that this is going to be Ultraviolette's first entry into the light motorcycle platform, we're pegging it with a range of 100 miles or 160 kilometers. With a 0 to 60, I think we don't like anything more than 3 seconds, so I think whatever we do is going to land up at. And you're going to love the next image. Comes in two options as of now. The Shockwave, electric yellow and black, and what you see on stage here, the white and red. So, one thing that, we all enthusiasts love these motorcycles. There are some very cool Hondas, Kawasaki's, modded bikes that you get. You'll have trouble importing them, you'll have trouble modding them. Even after you do that, a lot of them are...
See, what happens is that when technologies get developed, there is a period at which they coalesce.
Not really legal. And for the first time, we've taken all of that, whatever goes into being a bad boy, packaging it all together, and sort of making it road legal. And what's all of this fun if you can't take your friend or your significant other with you on this exhilarating ride? Yes, of course, it does have an option of a 2-seater as well. And more details of this is going to be on our website. And yes, Neeraj walked us through an elaborate breakdown of all of the stats on the vehicle. These are what I mentioned, the top stats of the vehicle. The power, the range, the torque, one of the highlight facts. And a lot more details on, like you mentioned, the suspensions, the wheel travel, the brakes, all of the other tech that is now synonymous with the Ultraviolette platform sort of rolls into anything that we put out. Some more tech. And yes, now what does all of this mean? This is going to launch at a starting price of... Guys, what's happening here? Okay, let's hit it. Yeah. There's a fair chance of it dropping if there's more enthusiasm right here, right now. Yeah, so our same carbon farewell fund has rolled into this as well. And for the first 1,000 vehicles only, the introductory price point is going to be 149,999. So that is the UV Shockwave, and this is the UV Tesseract. Very, very different product segments. And of course, with our sports motorcycle platforms and what is now coming real soon in the future, you get a sense of how the Ultraviolette brand is poised to grow. Now, I'd like to spend a couple of minutes and go back to what we started with, building top-down. The pros and cons of building top-down. On the flip side, it takes time. If your intent as a startup is quick go-to-market, quick exit, quick valuation, this is not what's going to work out. If you're building a business for the long term, it does require a lot of meticulous attention to detail. It requires a lot of failed experiments, mostly at R&D, and then get the perfect product on the road. And that's the approach we followed. There's been 7 to 8 years of active R&D that's gone into everything that we've built. And today, we'd like to do something a little different. Most entities keep the cards close to the chest. I think we are following a new structure where we want to be more transparent, and I think the intent of this is to fast forward India to inspire more and more companies, individuals, to start thinking in a new light, to start going beyond short-term gains and to start thinking about these epic projects that could mean a lot more in time to come. So we are talking about what the Ultraviolette portfolio over the next 36 months would look like. We have the F platform, the F series vehicles, of which we have the Mark II and the Super Street. Then today we'll showcase the S platform or a scooter platform, and the L series, which is our light motorcycle platform. And of course, all of this is going to spawn into multiple use cases in terms of power, range, torque, features, whatnot, and expand. And not to worry, the X is very much in the portfolio. And of course, getting all of this together is the B series, which is going to be a very interesting segment that we are also actively looking at. And that's what you see here. So this is what the UV flight plan for the next 3 years is going to look like. I mean, of course, it's easier for me to talk about it here. There is a ton of work that needs to go in, a ton of things that need to align for us to get to this. But I think boldly putting it out here also proves the point that we are here to make it happen. And with that, I'd like to conclude the session for the day. I don't know what to call it, what the right term is. I'd like to extend our thanks to all of you that have joined us today. A lot of our owners who are here today. Like I mentioned, you are the soul of what Ultraviolette stands for. A lot of our friends and family who've taken time off to be here today for this special occasion. And a lot of our investors who have joined us today as well. And yes, your trust and faith in building for the long run has enabled us to do this, and we will strive to keep pushing further and harder. Thank you. And